Residents of an apartment complex aren't allowed to have any pets. Mr. Smith, a doctor living on the 3rd floor, has been hearing someone barking somewhere around. He reported it, and his neighbors, Evie, Haven, and Nash, were visited. Can you tell who keeps a dog? It's Nash. Take a look at the shoe shelf. Someone chewed some of his shoes. I bet it wasn't Nash himself who did it. 4 friends were going to another city. The driver got distracted and got into a car crash. A police officer arrived and started the investigation. He asked who was driving, but no one took the blame. Then the officer inspected the car. Can you tell who the driver was? The driver must be this guy. The driver's seat is pulled quite far away from the wheel, and he's the only guy and the biggest person in the group. Any of the girls would have needed the seat pulled closer. In June, medical students had an exam in biology, the hardest exam of the term. The students came to the classroom and were assigned a particular seat. A professor noticed that one of the students was going to cheat and made that person sit right in front of him. Which student is it, and how did the professor know? It's the guy with dark hair. It's June and all students are dressed lightly. Still, this student has his sweater on with long sleeves, probably to hide notes or a cell phone. In a little town, a robber appeared. He would break into houses at night and steal electronics and valuables. Each night, another house would be robbed. First, it was Mr. Smith's house. The next night, it was the Holmes house. The night after, Tanner's house. Last night, the house of Mrs. Collins was robbed too. Can you guess which house on the street is going to be robbed tonight? Pay attention to the houses. Mr. Smith's house is red. The house of the Holmes is orange. The Tanner's house is yellow. And the house of Mrs. Collins is green. Seems like the robber chooses the houses in order of rainbow colors, so the next target must be this blue house. A rich lady, Mrs. Herrera, was looking for a cleaning lady to clean her house once a week. There were 2 candidates, and each week she invited one to clean. Which one should Mrs. Herrera hire? Mrs. Herrera should hire the second candidate. Look, the bucket behind the first one is filled with jewelry. She's a thief. Mr. Jones was going on vacation. He cleaned up his office before leaving and took the key with him. When he came back 2 weeks later, he immediately realized that someone had broken into his office while he was away. How did he figure it out? Mr. Jones cleaned everything and kept the blinds open, but when he returned, the blinds were closed. Very suspicious, since he's the only one with the key. Someone has been stealing jewelry from a local store. The managers couldn't find out who it was and hired a detective. Take a look at some security camera shots over the year and say who the thief is. It's this dark-haired man with a cast. It's been a year, but he's still wearing the cast. It must be a fake. The Citibank was robbed, and the police managed to trace and catch one of them, the city's most famous criminal, Bill. The other one wasn't identified, but the police had 3 main suspects: Tom, Jack, and Rob. They were interrogated, but they failed to prove that any of them was connected to Bill in any way, so the police were puzzled. Detective Callum walked in, looked at them, and immediately made up his mind. Who do you think Bill's partner is? Look, Jack has the exact same tattoo as Bill. That's something. They must be partners or at least somehow connected. Skylar stayed in the university's library to finish her paper. Around 4 p.m., she got hungry, so she went down to the university's cafeteria to get something to eat.
Thank you.
Skylar returned back to her desk half an hour later and discovered that someone had stolen her wallet while she was away. There were 3 other students in the library, and they were the main suspects. All of them denied stealing anything. What do you think happened? Skylar went to get something to eat, right? So she must have taken her wallet with her, and no one stole anything. She should check her pockets.
Oh my God.
A week ago, Mrs. Miller grounded her daughters after the girls had snuck out for a party in the middle of the night. It's a boring, rainy day, and there's not much going on in the office. So Mrs. Miller is talking on the phone with her best friend. Her friend is in the mall, and she goes on, "Oh, one of your daughters is here with a friend. I'm not sure which one it is, though." Several hours later, Mrs. Miller returns home and asks her daughters what they've been doing. Leah says, "I was studying." Coco replies, "I was reading and I watched a movie." Della says, "Nothing, just chilled and watered the garden." Who's lying? Della for sure. It's raining. There's no point in watering the garden. The time machine was invented, but it came with a bug. People were using the time machine to travel in time, disrupting the order of time, and they would often stay in different eras without precautions. Time police travel through time, catching illegal time travelers, and they need your help. First, we're traveling to ancient Greece. Can you see the time traveler here? It's this woman with a Louis Vuitton bag.
Oh.
There was no Louis Vuitton in ancient Greece. The next stop is ancient China. Do you think you can find another time traveler? Keep your eyes open. It's this man. He's wearing modern sneakers. Going even further back to the Stone Age. Can you spot the time traveler? Is this woman wearing makeup? Yeah, she definitely doesn't belong here. What about medieval Europe? Do you see anyone suspicious the time police should arrest? This man right here. Look, he's taking photos with his modern cell phone. And this one isn't too much of a distant future. It's the 1980s. Do you have any idea who's out of place there? This is a Tesla, and of course, the driver is the time traveler. Okay, just one more time traveler to catch for today. Keep your eyes wide open. And we're taken to the Wild West this time. Look around. Do you see anyone suspicious? Is this guy wearing a cap? Catch him. He's not from that time.
Oh my God.
Mr. Green got in a car accident and spent a month in the hospital. He got amnesia and partly forgot things. He didn't have a family, and a month later, he finally returned home. He found his street, but then he realized he didn't remember which of the 2 houses was actually his house. Can you guess which house is his? His house is the one where the lawns aren't mowed. He spent a month in the hospital, and since he lives alone, no one could have mowed the lawn for him. Atlas and Eliza are sisters. Their grandmother gave Atlas a beautiful necklace for her birthday, but Eliza loves it too. So she borrows it from her sister without permission sometimes. On Friday, Atlas returned home and saw that her necklace wasn't there. She guessed that Eliza must have taken it from her. So she knocked on her sister's door. Eliza opened the door but noticed that it was her sister, so she shut it and locked it. A minute later, Atlas broke in and started to search for the necklace, but she didn't find anything. On her way out, Atlas remembered something and managed to find the necklace. Where? Atlas remembered that when Eliza opened the door, she wasn't wearing a scarf, but when she broke in a minute later, the scarf was there to cover up the necklace she had put on to hide it from her sister.
Dustin is a widowed man living alone in his house. One day, the doorbell rang. Dustin went up to open his door, and right there she was, his wife. How's it possible? I hope you kept your eyes wide open for this one. Look, there's a photo of Dustin and his wife on the wall. His wife has a birthmark on her cheek. The woman that just appeared doesn't have it, so it must be Dustin's wife's twin sister. Dylan was grounded, and he wasn't allowed to meet even his girlfriend for a week. One evening, when Dylan's mom returned home from work, she found Dylan in his room and asked him if he'd met anyone that day. Dylan said that he'd been at home, studying all day. His mom didn't believe him. Why? Look, there's a lipstick stain on his neck. I'm pretty sure his girlfriend came over for a short visit. Another grounded teenager, Eslyn, wasn't allowed to see any of her friends for 2 weeks after failing her history test. One night, her mother had a night shift and only returned home next afternoon. She came to check on her daughter, and she knew immediately that Eslyn had a friend over for a sleepover. How did she figure it out? Examine Eslyn's room carefully. 2 plates, 2 cups, 2 forks. She wasn't the only one eating dinner in her room last night, and she wasn't smart enough to clean up after. Smells like 2 more weeks to me. Miss Virginia Dell is a rich young lady who had a beautiful and expensive jewelry collection behind a glass in her dressing room. One morning, she found that someone broke the glass and stole her jewelry. Miss Dell's cleaning lady claimed that she had cleaned the room at around 5 a.m. and the jewelry was still there. Virginia's best friend, who was staying in her house that week, said that she had never even walked in the dressing room. Virginia's cousin, who was also staying with her for the holiday, said that she'd walked in the dressing room in the morning, but hadn't paid any attention to the jewelry, and for sure hadn't stolen anything. Who is the liar? It's the cleaning lady. Seems like right after she broke the glass and stole the jewelry, she wiped off the pieces of glass while cleaning as well, because there's no shattered glass on the floor. Okay, here's another task for you to test your observation skills. I'll show you 2 people and some items. Your task is to guess which person the item belongs to. Let's start off easy. What about this stethoscope? Well, it should definitely belong to this doctor on the right. 2 more people. Any guesses who the owner of this bracelet is? The bracelet has a name engraved on it, Sophia. This girl on the left has a name tag with the same name, so it must be her bracelet. Next up, this lipstick. There are 2 girls who are possible owners, but what's your best guess? Who does it belong to? It must be this girl. Both of them are wearing lipstick, but this girl has the exact same shade as the lipstick itself. Earring and 2 girls again to choose from. Any guesses? It must be this girl. Her ears are pierced, and the other girls aren't. The next item is the hairdryer. Who do you think it belongs to? It must be this girl's dryer. She has long hair, and the other guy is bald. Okay, this one is more fun. The next one we have to place is this cute little cat. Who do you think is its owner? See that this girl's legs are a bit scratched? They give her away completely. It's her cat. One last item for you to place. This time it's a photograph of the owner in her teenage years with her parents. Who do you think it belongs to? The teen in the photo is a redhead with green eyes. There's just one redhead girl with green eyes, and here she is. It must be her photo. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. She came across a witch's house and asked her to take her home. 5 doors appeared. Only one of them will take you home, and you only have one chance. The right door is black. It's not next to the leftmost or the rightmost door. It's not the door in the middle either. Which door should Esme choose? There are just 3 black doors, and it's one of them. It's not the door next to the leftmost or the rightmost one, so the 4th door is eliminated. It's not the middle door, so it's out too. Esme should walk out the door on the left. Eiko woke up in a dark dungeon without remembering what happened. She looked around and saw a metal door. Unfortunately, it was locked, and it required not just 1 password, but 4. Eiko had only 1 attempt to make it right. Gladly, next to the door, there was a sign with 4 words: apple, bread, chair, and dress. Which word belongs here? Pay attention to the shapes of each password. Some letters are bigger than others, and each word should fit right in. So it should be bread on the top left, apple on the top right, dress on the bottom left, and chair on the bottom right. In a factory, a worker and a half make a chair and a half in 1 hour and a half. How many chairs does one worker make in 1 working day, which is 6 hours? If 1.5 workers make 1.5 chairs in 1.5 hours, it means that one worker makes 1 chair in the same time, which is 1.5 hours. So in a 6-hour working day, one worker makes 4 chairs. It was a lazy day, but as soon as it started raining, a city's police officer got a call. Mr. Jones said that someone had just bumped into his car and drove away. The officer arrived. They found one person nearby fixing his car's tire. Mr. Jones said that it was the gentleman who had bumped into his car. The gentleman said that it couldn't be true, since he had been trying to fix his car for over an hour now, and was there the whole time. Who is lying? It's the guy fixing his car. The rain just recently started. If he'd been fixing his car the whole time, the ground underneath his car would be dry. But it's wet, which means his car broke down just recently, probably when he was driving away after the accident. A crew of pirates arrived at a deserted island in the Caribbean at night. In the early morning, the captain went ashore to find his secret stash with all the treasures hidden in it. But when he reached it, the treasures weren't there. Someone from his crew had gone ashore earlier and stolen all of it. There were 3 suspects: Bill, first mate, Gil, bosun, and Will, cook. All of them denied stealing anything, but the captain knew who was lying. Who? There are footprints on the shore from earlier that don't belong to the captain. One is a footprint, but the other one is a hole from a stick. The robber must be Gil, the bosun, because he is the only one with a wooden leg. Let's start with training your eyes a bit. Can you find an odd one out here? Yes, that's the one. Another one for you. Look carefully, and you only have several seconds to find the imposter. That's the one. Correct. Now the game is getting a bit harder, but I know you've got it. What do you say? Here it is. Did you find it? Okay, last one of these, the hardest one. Do you see the odd one out this time? There it is! Great job!